This time we'll call the Shiawassee County Board of Commissioners meeting to order. Everyone will please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Commissioner Marks, if you would please.
Yes, thank you. If you remain standing, if you feel so moved to join us in prayer, or invocation. Well, thank you, Father, for the blessing of being able to come together for the betterment of the county. We ask that you bless our decisions today to benefit this community and honor you, Father. Amen.
Amen. Thank you. The roll call, please. Madam Clerk.
Commissioner Bartz?
Here.
Commissioner McMaster?
Here.
Commissioner Pascarelli?
Here.
Commissioner Brock? Absent. Commissioner Marks?
Here.
Commissioner Holzhausen?
Here.
Chairman Root?
Here. Okay. We'll move on to approval of minutes. I'll entertain a motion to approve the minutes of July 13, 2007 Board of Commissioners meeting.
Make that motion.
We have a motion, a second.
Second.
All right, motion second. Any changes to the minutes? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same. Motion carries. B, I'll entertain a motion to approve the August 14, 2017 Board of Commissioners closed session meeting.
Make that motion.
Support. Motion and support. Any discussion? All the commissioners have read and signed off on the closed session minutes?
I have not signed yet.
Okay. Let's
It's in,
make sure
it's
we-
in our mailboxes.
Yeah, make sure we get that to the clerk.
Were they reviewed by council as a draft? I'm just curious, or did they need to be?
No, they don't need to be.
All right, any other discussion? All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. We will move to the approval of the bills. Commissioner Marks.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I move to approve invoice edit reports dated 7/12 of 17, 7/18 of 17, 7/20 from 2017, another from 7/20 of 17, from 7/26 of 17, 7/27 of 17, 8/1 of 17, again from 8/1, 17, 8/9 from 17, again from 8/9, 17, 8/10 from 17, 8/11, and again 8/11 from 2017, with a total of $6,316,196.33, and two wire transfers, one from 7/31 of 17 to 7/19 of 17, for a total of $535,943.53, for a grand total of $6,852,139.86.
We have a motion to pay the bills. We have a second. Support. If you guys notice, we put these in front of you now, so you guys can all see these. Any discussion on the bills? Roll call vote, please.
Commissioner McMaster?
Yes.
Commissioner Pascarelli?
Yes.
Commissioner Brock? Absent. Commissioner Marks?
Yes.
Commissioner Holzhausen?
Yes.
Commissioner Bartz?
Yes.
Chairman Root?
Yes. Motion passes. All right, at this time, we'll move the opportunity for the public to address the board. If anybody has it, I have one slip right now, but if anyone else has an opportunity, you can sign in. And Gambo Hall.
I'd like to have my remarks at the end, please. There's a second period for public comment,
You
correct?
want to wait till the end?
Yes.
Okay. Does anyone else want to speak now? All right, then we'll move on. We'll move to presentations at this point. Mr. Karinovic from Abrams and Gaffney is here with our audit financials.
I'm gonna pull the chair up. I think
Yeah,
that's
sorry
all right.
about that.
Oh, no, that's okay. I didn't want to be presumptuous.
Pull it up.
Park myself, but a little bit easier to spread stuff out.
Stand to make it.
We've got lots of questions.
All right, so I think everybody should have a few documents. Larger bound audit report, smaller bound audit report, which is the federal compliance audit, a loose letter on Abraham and Gaffney letterhead, and then some white paper, like outlined with some graphs. So hopefully you have those 4 items at your spots, and we'll touch on each of those. Just general comments as I always like to make. This report, is for December 31st, 2016. Just kind of thank everyone, Pat and all the departments, department heads, and elected officials and so forth for all their help to get the audit done. This year, as you look, it's 100-ish pages of information there, and a lot goes into producing the audit report. So we appreciate all the departments and elected officials, all their help. They were very helpful to get everything completed. One thing I'll point you to as we get into the financial statements, last year was the first year that the net pension liability was reflected in the financial statements. It's always been a number, always been a liability of the county and all other governmental entities. Last year that number was the first time it was put on the face of the financial statements, and if you looked at last year's financial statements, that number was about $26 million. This year, unfortunately, that number for you and for, I can't think of one that didn't go down, or that went down. All of our governmental entities, that number went up. Your number went up to about $33 million, so I'll point you to that number, because that's an important number to look at. I'll hit some of the other financial highlights, and if you have questions, just holler at me as we go, or at the end, whatever works best for everybody. If you'll go into the larger bound report, the audit report, to Roman numeral page 1, 2, and 3. This is the independent auditor's report. This is Abraham and Gaffney's opinion on your financial statements. Through that whole process, this is the main objective of that process, is to issue this opinion. This is a similar opinion that you've seen in prior financial statements. The top of the next page of Roman numeral page 2 is the actual opinion paragraph. If you'll take a look at that, and that basically is what we call a clean or an unmodified opinion. So it's saying that everything is in accordance with generally accepted accounting principles. So that's, I always tell boards and commissions, that's that best possible opinion that you can get. As your audit gets transmitted to state funding agencies, to bonders and Department of Treasury, that's what they want, is that good, clean, unmodified opinion, and that's what you have there on Roman numeral page 1, 2, and 3. Going into the body of the financial statements to page 1, you're passing that management's discussion and analysis. There's a facer page that says basic financial statements, and then you get to page 1. Page 1 and 2 are what we call the full accrual statements, or the GASB 34 statements. This is presented like a business. So as you can see here, it summarizes everything in the county into basically 3 columns: that governmental activities, business type activities, and then the component unit column. So this shows everything. Assets at the top, including capital assets, net of accumulated depreciation. It flows into liabilities, both short-term and long-term, and then resulting net position as it flows to the bottom. And really the one number I'll take you to is that net pension liability number, a little over halfway down the page under non-current liabilities. You see net pension liability, $33,042,340. So that $33 million is up from $26 million last year. So pretty significant increase. But like I said, unfortunately, a pretty significant increase for everybody, and across the state. There's a significant amount of detail. More detail than you probably ever want. Starts on page 36 of the financials. If you wanted to see, there's 7, 8, maybe even 9 pages of disclosures related to that net pension liability number. So that's a pretty obviously, as you look at this page, the largest number on that page, and unfortunately it's a liability. So it's presented there as that $33 million. So that's really the only number I wanted to point you to on page 1.
If I may?
Yes, absolutely.
Just quickly, can you describe the distinction between governmental activities and business type activities?
Yep, the business type activities, your main business type activities are the delinquent tax funds, because they're again treated on what's called the full accrual basis of accounting. So the business type activities, delinquent tax funds, and your jail commissary would be a couple of the bigger things that go on to that business type activities. Everything else is in that far left-hand column. And so general fund activities, all of your special revenue funds, from friend of the court to any capital project funds, debt funds, all of that activity kind of gets smashed down into one column called governmental activities. So that's kind of the differentiation between those two columns.
And then component units, that column?
Yeah, what that is your road commission. The medical care facility is in there. The drains are in there. And the airport and council on aging. So those 5 entities that kind of fall under your control somewhat, and so therefore they get rolled up into the financial statements of the county as a whole. The road commission and probably the road commission and medical care facility and drains. Those are probably the 3 biggest ones, but also council on aging and the airport are included in there too. So yeah, that's what makes up those 3 columns.
Thank you.
Yep. Going to the statements maybe you're a little more familiar with, if you'll turn over to page 3. Page 3 and 4 is what we call the governmental funds balance sheet. So this is what we call the fund level financial statements that snapshot at December 31st, 2016 of all your assets, liabilities, and resulting fund balances for your governmental funds. This presentation keys on what we call major funds. So as you can see there, starting on the left-hand side, your general fund, health department, the medical care facility debt fund, the mental health debt fund, and then everything else, all the other activities, like I said, the friend of the court and so forth, those are parks fund. All those are summarized in that non-governmental column. If you wanted to know what all those funds were, if you look in the back of the financial statements, pages 68 through 73 kind of give you some details of what makes up that multitude of pages, multitude of funds that get summarized down and kind of recorded in that non-major governmental fund column. But one number I'll take you to on this page is far left-hand side, the general fund, the unassigned fund balance, so that $1,713,000. Third number up from the bottom in that left-hand column. So that's the amount that's available for current expenditures in future years. So as you built your 17 budget, that was kind of the number you started with that was available to spend. And usually that's one of the main questions that we get is how much do we have in fund balance and do we have enough or where do we stand kind of. And the rule of thumb that we utilize and look at is 15 to 20% of annual expenditures is a good rule of thumb, but with the caveat of depending on what you have planned for the future, depending on what we need to set aside X because we've got this big project to do, or we know we're going to spend some of fund balance because we just did project Y, or whatever it is. So really that 15 to 20% is driven kind of just on basically what we see in the various different clients that we work with, but it really depends on what you folks have planned, and where you stand. That 1.7 million is almost at 12%. It's about 11.6%. But just a little history. Back in 2014, that was 7.7%. And then in 2015, it was about 11%, and then this year it ended up at 11.6. So it's gone up the last 3 years, which is a pretty common. That there was utilization and has been utilization of fund balance. You've been able to add a little bit back the last couple of years, and so you're headed in the right direction. Looking at fund balance. To go over to page 6. This is the statement of revenues, expenditures, and changes in fund balance, or if you want to call it the income statement, but the revenues and expenditures statement. Again, looking at it keys on those major funds, and we'll just touch on the general fund, that far left-hand column again. Total revenues of the general fund, $14,831,000, a little over a quarter of the way down the page. That number was $14,871,000 last year. So revenues are down slightly, but only down about 40,000. So like 0.3%. So pretty consistent. No real big, swings up and down in revenues. Pretty steady or stagnant, however you want to put it, but pretty consistent with revenues. And expenditures on the flip side, again, pretty consistent there also, about in the center of the page, $13,660,000. Last year that was $13,586,000. So expenditures are up slightly, about $75,000, or about 0.5% from 15 to 16. Again, some swings up and down, but no real significant specific areas jumped out to say, here's the cause of that increase. There were some minor increases and decreases to to net of about a 0.5% increase. Third number up from the bottom there, as you continue on down that column, you were able to add to fund balance or revenues over expenditures of that $572,540. So that was the addition to fund balance in the general fund for the year ended December 31st, 16. To take kind of all those numbers and put them in a couple of pictures, if you look at the graphs that were attached to, that are attached to the outline that came in your packets, these again key on the general fund. So the first graph is a bar chart looking at the last 5 years of revenues, expenditures, and then resulting fund balance. So revenues being blue, expenditures being burgundy, and then resulting fund balance being the yellow bar. So you can see 3 of the last 5 years, 14, 15, 16, you've had revenues exceeding expenditures. So it's a positive trend. Obviously, going forward is a good way to look at that for 14, 15, and 16, which has allowed, 13 was the low point on fund balance, and then fund balance has grown. I think 12 and 13, you had a little bit of utilization of fund balance both years, and then the last 3 years, as you can see, that yellow bar has grown, over those past 3 years. And then to look at the pie chart, again, takes revenues at the top and then expenditures at the bottom for the general fund for 2016. The largest source of revenue, pretty consistent. The overall pie is pretty consistent with revenues. 56% of the revenues related to property taxes. That was 56% last year, so real consistent pie. 22% as intergovernmental, which is mainly federal and state grants and state shared revenues and so forth. At 22%, again, that was 21% last year, so pretty consistent pie there for revenues. Expenditures at the bottom, again, this was pretty consistent also. 50% of your expenditures related to general government, and kind of a few things that are in that area are all the courts, clerk, treasurer, buildings and grounds, prosecuting attorney, equalization, kind of those general government expenditures at 50%. That was 51% last year. And then 33%, the second largest there, is that burgundy shaded area of public safety. So that's sheriff, jail, security, that type of thing at 33%. That was 32% last year. So pretty consistent expenditure pie also on the bottom of the page there. So, and then
so when you have revenue coming in from fines and forfeits, that's money that the courts are collecting. That's money that
right. Yeah.
Department's collecting.
Yeah. So anybody that charges, whether it's court fines and fees and that type of thing. Yes, that's all that fines and forfeits. Correct. So a pretty small component.
So it should be fines, fees, and forfeits then.
Well, the fines and forfeits, I think, no. You're correct, because the fees would be up under charges for services more than likely. So it'd be fines and forfeitures and that type of thing that get categorized in there from the courts and everything like that. Yeah, so pretty small, unfortunately, pretty small component of the pie, but correct. And then the only other thing, and then I'm happy to answer any questions. The only thing I'll point you to is that smaller bound report, which is the federal compliance audit. So in addition to auditing the numbers and going through that process to determine the material accuracy of the financial statements, we also look at the federal grants. And so that smaller report is our issuance of the federal compliance, or the what we call the single audit. And so as you look at this, I won't go through this in a lot of detail, but if you looked at pages 4 through 6. 4 through 6 detail out all the federal grants that came through the county for the year, about $1.8 million in total federal dollars. And that's everything from Homeland Security to the Cooperative Reimbursement Grant to all the Health Department grants and everything. So those are all detailed there on pages 4 through 6. And so what we do each year is we select certain programs for testing. In 2016, we tested that cooperative reimbursement program that runs through the prosecuting attorney and the friend of the court offices. So we tested that program, and then the emergency preparedness grant over at the health department. Those were the grants that we tested as major in 2016. And we had no findings related to those major programs. So that's the positive positive thing there. We did have some findings that are detailed in here. I won't go through because I know you've got a long agenda, and we've talked a lot about these with management. But pages 11 through 13 are a variety of either what we call material weaknesses or significant deficiencies or other compliance type items, non-federal grant compliance, but compliance type items that are detailed there on pages 11, 12, and 13. That I'm happy to, like I said, answer questions on, but I didn't plan to go through those specifically, one by
When
one.
you say you spoke with management, you're talking about you met with department heads? Is that what?
We went through those, and as we came through or came across those, yes, we talked about those and went through those, and then meeting with Pat and kind of went through those and discussed them at that level too. So she was aware of all of that. So correct.
Recommendations based on?
Yep, and there's detailed recommendations in there. So each finding, I mean, just to take, as you look there and just to flip, into that section, and as you look at each finding, there is a specific layout that we're required to follow, and so it details out the specific, the condition that we found, how it should be, the criteria, and what we could see was the cause of the particular issue that we found, and what was the effect of the particular issue that we found, and then our recommendation is detailed. So there's that for each individual comment that's detailed in there, and then also as a part of that, there is what's called a corrective action plan that's detailed on page 14. So basically what that does is it takes each of these points, and then management, Pat had prepared those responses to say, this is the issue, this is how we are going to fix that problem in going forward. So those are all detailed there as the findings, and then the corrective action has its own kind of separate standalone schedule.
So you've reviewed those recommendations with management and they've accepted those?
Yes, correct.
And then is that related to the transmittal then? On page 2, there's a paragraph there that talks about material misstatements detected as a result of audit.
Yes, those kind of tie. Yep, that comment in there ties to that finding that's called 2016-001 in there. So that's how those two hook together, is the material journal entry comments linked to the point that you just pointed out in that.
So
board
does that apply
communication.
to reverse journal entries made as part of the audit?
Yeah, there were some as it shows in there. There were, yes, beginning. So we had various different adjustments that we made as part of the audit process that were material. So as there on page 11, the condition that we found, we had various different adjustments related to, starting in that first line, talks about cash, accounts receivable, due from other governmental units, accounts payable, interfunds, drain activity, taxes receivable, and beginning equity. So those were the accounts that had material adjustments to them, either from last year, like you're talking about the reversals of those entries, or something that we found in this year that, here's a receivable that didn't get recorded. That needs to be recorded, and then that would be recorded as an audit journal entry and presented to management.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. So that was the details that I wanted to go through. I don't know if there's other questions. I'm more than happy to answer as.
Do you have business cards in case we want to?
Yes, sir. Absolutely.
So
absolutely. Yeah, I mean,
a lot of
that's
stuff to digest.
for sure. Yep. No, that is as always, there's more than happy to answer questions after the fact too, for that matter.
I guess I just might have a question for our finance director. I'm guessing you obviously interacted and were largely responsible for assisting the preparation. You're comfortable with where we're at, the results, the recommendations, and our ability to respond to those from the auditor?
Yes, integral with that is the item on the finance agenda today to get some additional assistance to get some of
I
these
see
things
it's
on a
tied to
straight
that.
track, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with the findings they had. It was frustrating.
Okay. Can I ask if these weaknesses have been identified in past audits prior to 2016?
Yes, some of them have been. As you look at those, there is, for instance, the first one, the last sentence under the condition. So if it was a repeat, it'll say, you know, this says a similar issue was noted in audit comments. So as you look at each comment, if number 2 was also, number 3 was also.
What
Number-
page are you on?
Looking at page 11 of the smaller bound
Right.
report, yeah. So that smaller bound report, if you wanted to see, hey, was this, as Commissioner mentioned, was this comment a repeat comment? So looking under condition for material journal entries, the very last sentence there, under condition, for the 2016 001 finding, it says a similar issue was noted and reported in our audit comments last year. So as you look at those, if you look at each of those comments, if it was a repeat comment, it'll say that in there and give you that. So I think 2 was and 3 was, 4 was not, and 5 was not.
That's
So
fine, it's good to know that.
yeah, but yeah, that's detailed all in there. Yep, absolutely.
Anything else? All right. Thank you very much.
Great, thank you. Thank you.
All right, this time we'll move into committee reports. Start with Commissioner Barnes, Building Grounds, Parks and Rec. Anything going on?
Attended Parks and Rec meeting we held it at Henderson Park. Myself and Commissioner Rook were there, but we did not have enough for a quorum. And, Commissioner Masters was there also, his son. But there was not enough official members there to have a quorum, so we did not have a meeting. Discussed a few things. Talked about being hopefully in October, we're going to find out about the grant for Henderson Park. So I think that was really the only significant thing that we talked about that night, being that we didn't have a meeting. Buildings, grounds, I think going fairly well, busy, but I haven't heard from him in a couple days, so I think that's a good thing. So usually do talk to him a couple times a week at least. That's about it.
Trails, you guys have any?
We did, unfortunately, my schedule had a conflict and was not able to attend last night, so I do follow the agenda and meeting days, but nothing other to report.
Michigan Works, capital area.
Okay, so Michigan Works, well, that meeting was last week, I believe. Couple items, they would like either Commissioner Root or Commissioner Marks or Horvath, Mr. Horvath to come talk about the proposed grant facility. They're quite excited because it's a big regional benefit. They want to start gearing up. I mean, obviously they don't know everything, but they look at that as a gift to the region to place a lot of people. Talked a little bit about kind of wrapping up of some of the Flint water projects and people who have been employed through that. The new office is going to be opening up here sometime in September, October down in Fenton off of Owen Road. There's going to be a soft opening and then there'll be a larger grand opening that as commissioners will all get invitations to attend. If you remember, I talked about this earlier, they downsized the Flint office, moved this to the southern part of the county, which will also help Shiawassee County because it's closer for some of our residents down in the Byron area to hop over to Fenton to get onto Owendale than it is to come up here to Wausau. So that's that. Capital area, community services. The director is retiring. That was just announced. They claim they're out looking right now. They're doing a search, a national search. Plan to have somebody in place by October 1st. And Ivan's going to stay on, I think, until like January, February, so there's an overlap, and then he'll officially retire. A lot of concerns about a federal budget shutdown, government shutdown, what's going to happen with the commodities, food program, and some of the other funding. That's what just those two.
Commissioner Holzhausen, community mental health, council on aging.
things are moving along in mental health. I'm on the nominating committee, plus the finance, plus the regular board. And we just going to pass a new guy on the board, and I think we're missing one. I think we got 12 or 14 on the board, so we need one more person. We're operating all right, spending all the money.
All right, anything from Council on Aging?
No, I guess we're just happy that Millie passed for the seniors.
All right.
So, help out the seniors, Meals on Wheels, and everything. Keep all three of the Morris and Durand and Wasso centers open.
Commissioner Marks, anything 911, SCDP?
Yeah, nothing major to report from Public Health Board or SCDP at this time.
Okay, I-69 corridor, Commissioner Marks and myself were in Washington DC for the County Commissioner Convention at the White House there. We met with several of the executive branch departments. They came at us. It was kind of a middle level to top level person in the departments that would come. We had two cabinet secretaries, Linda McMahon of the Small Business Association and Betsy DeVos of the Secretary of Education that came and spoke with us. The others that spoke with us Department of Energy, Department of Agriculture, Transportation, they all kind of tailored their proposals as to what they're doing in Michigan, some of the work they've done in Michigan and what they're planning for Michigan. It was a lot of information kind of thrown at you in a quick presentation. They each got about 10-15 minutes and they were getting someone else on stage. They would take a couple of questions here and there, but it was pretty informative. It was good to hear. Michigan Association of Counties was very shocked to see Shiawassee County in Washington DC after just being a member again this year. They welcomed us. They actually let everyone know that what an honor it was to have Shiawassee County back and attending their event. So that was nice. And the president, the chairman of the Michigan County or Association of Counties, said that in her 30 years, there's never been an invite of county commissioners to Washington DC. So it was kind of a whole brand new thing, and I know they've only done it with, I believe it was Florida, Pennsylvania, and Michigan. So I don't know if they plan to continue or if they just are strategically going after those swing states. So, but it was very informative. It was we got to meet, kind of network with some of the commissioners around here. We met some from Clinton County, some from Genesee County. There were some from way up north, and they were all over. But do you have anything that you'd like to add? That it was just a good experience overall. And so that's my report as to why I wasn't at the I-69 corridor, I guess. But so I guess with nothing else, we'll go into our committee of the whole report.
Okay.
Mr. McMaster.
Committee of the whole, I move to appoint Daniel Emmerman to the zoning board of appeals effective immediately through December 31st, 2018, or until the successor is appointed, and authorize the board chair to execute all necessary documents.
We have a motion. Do we have a second? Support. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Any abstentions?
I'll support it.
Okay. All right. Motion passes.
Okay, I move to appoint Thomas J. Foster to the planning commission effective immediately through December 31st, 2018, or until a successor is appointed, and authorize the board chair to execute all necessary documents.
Motion and support. Any discussion on the appointment? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries.
Okay. I move to appoint Lenore McMaster, Republican, to the canvassing board for a 4-year term beginning November 1st, 2017 through October 31st, 2021, or until a successor is appointed, and authorize the board chair to sign all necessary documents.
Motion and support. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
Abstain.
Abstain. One abstention. Motion carries.
I move to appoint Carol Spagnola, Democrat, to the canvassing board for a 4-year term beginning November 1st, 2017 through October 31st, 2021, or until a successor is appointed, and authorize the board chair to sign all necessary documents.
Motion and support. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes.
Okay, move to authorize the board chair to execute 2 MERS adoption agreements and any other necessary documents providing for the carve-out of Group 20 assets necessary to reflect the creation of groups for 1, POLC pre-2009 participants, and 2, POLC post-2009 participants to complete the necessary transactions resulting from the formation of the Police Officers Labor Council and their adoption of a hybrid retirement plan for employees hired after March 1st, 2017. The retirement benefits for POLC pre-2009 and POLC post-2009 remain unchanged. They will just be accounted for separately as POLC groups.
We have a motion, we have a second, any support, any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes.
Okay, move to authorize resolution number 17-08-17, supporting new 911 legislation, Senate Bill 400 and House Bill 4651, and authorize the board chair to sign all necessary documents.
Support. We have a motion and support, any discussion on the motion?
Mr. Chair, for our discussion yesterday, we had talked about mailing. If we just make photocopies, I'll just go around and pass it out to all the offices, that way it saves us on postage. So we'll email them and then I'll hand deliver them. We'll be good.
The changes were made as suggested.
Yeah, has it been passed out? Kaylee made the changes.
Yeah, it's
It's all set from everybody else.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you for that.
Yeah.
We appreciate it.
Save us $75.
Yeah.
All right. Anything else? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same. Motion passes.
Okay, move to approve full line settlement agreement. Authorize the board chair to sign all necessary agreements or documents.
Support. We have a motion and support, any discussion?
Again, I'd just like to make one final comment on this. I think my opposition to this has been stated over the course of the week through all the meetings. I think it's poor precedent. I think it's poor public policy. I think the county exposes itself to additional legal risk as a result of this settlement. And I just want to make sure the commission understands that this will not be the last of these types of SUPs, these types of disagreements coming before the commission, and the threat of lawsuits. Thank you.
Thank you. Roll call vote, please.
Commissioner Cascarelli,
No.
Commissioner Brock, Commissioner Marks.
Yes.
Commissioner Holzhausen,
Yes.
Commissioner Bartz,
Yes.
Commissioner McMaster,
Yes.
Chairman Root.
Yes. Motion passes.
Okay, move to approve the minutes of the August 16, 2017 Committee of the Whole meeting.
Support. A motion, support, any discussion on the minutes? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same. Motion passes.
That completes my report, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Commissioner McMaster. We'll move to economic fiscal development, Commissioner Cascarelli.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Item A, move to approve farmland PA 116 agreement for Andrew Birchmeyer for property located in Hazelton Township.
Support. A motion and support, any discussion on the motion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carried.
Item B is move to approve farmland PA 116 agreement for James Londrigan for property also located in Hazelton Township.
Motion and support, any discussion? All those in favor say aye. All opposed, same. Motion passes.
Item C, I move to amend the official zoning ordinance and district map of the county of Shiawassee with a language amendment to Article 4, Section 4.3.28, agricultural tourism and entertainment establishments.
Second.
We have a motion and a second, any discussion? We'll do a roll call on this, please.
Commissioner Brock is absent. Commissioner Marks.
Yes.
Commissioner Holzhausen,
Yes.
Commissioner Bartz,
Yes.
Commissioner McMaster,
Yes.
Commissioner Cascarelli,
Yes.
Chairman Root.
Yes. Motion passed.
And finally, item D, I move to approve the minutes of August 14, 2017 for the Economic and Physical Development Committee.
Support. Motion and support, any discussion on the minutes? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Commissioner. We'll move to County Finance and Administration, Commissioner Marks.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I move to authorize the Register of Deeds to purchase new office workstations from Great Lakes Interiors and Design in the amount of $13,962.00 to be paid from line item 256-268-970 and authorize Lori Kimball, Register, to sign all necessary documents.
Support. Motion and support, any discussion on the motion? Roll call, please, Madam Clerk.
Commissioner Marks,
Yes.
Commissioner Holzhausen,
Yes.
Commissioner Bartz,
Yes.
Commissioner McMaster,
Yes.
Commissioner Cascarelli?
Yes.
Commissioner Brock is absent. Chairman Root?
Yes. Motion passed.
I move to authorize district court to hire a judicial clerk to fill a vacancy due to a retirement at pay grade 5 on the rise salary schedule with a salary range of $29,344 to $35,899.00.
Support. Motion and support. Any discussion on this motion? Roll call, please.
Commissioner Olshausen?
Yes.
Commissioner Bartz?
Yes.
Commissioner McMaster?
Yes.
Commissioner Cascarelli?
Yes.
Commissioner Brock is absent. Commissioner Marks?
Yes.
Chairman Root?
Yes. Motion passes.
I move to authorize the clerk's office to create a new position for a part-time elections clerk for 28 hours to be paid at a pay grade 3 on rise salary schedule with a salary range of $24,774 to $30,309.00 to be paid from line item number 101-191-702.
Support. Motion and support. Any discussion on the motion?
Mr. Chair, I'd like to offer an amendment. I'd like to make a motion to authorize the clerk's office to create a new position for a part-time elections clerk for no more than 28 hours to be paid at a pay grade 03 on the rise salary schedule with an hourly rate of $11.91 to be paid from line item number 101-191-702.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second, or an amendment to the motion and a second. Any discussion on the amendment?
The salary would have been for full-time, I believe.
You're right,
Yes.
yeah, that was an error. An
Should
oversight.
it also,
Did you rattle that line item off again?
should it also say, gentlemen, with benefits only?
Yes, it should say with no fringe benefits except those required by law.
With no fringe benefits.
No fringe benefits.
Except those required by law.
Which,
Do you want me to say, read it again? Or?
Yeah.
no,
Oh, you need it read again or no?
no, I just wanted to comment on something.
Okay. On the amendment or,
I want to ask a question and then I just want to comment so that it's kind of noted. I wanted to ask if we're going to revisit this in the January, but I also wanted to just say that there's always been an elections clerk, and so I do disagree with the fact that you're saying the creation of a new position, because there's always been an elections clerk, and if this was a creation, I would ask, why do we have a job description for it? Do you know what I mean?
wow.
So, I'm just making sure I'm making, because if I come in January, we've always had one, as I've stated before. And I just want, we have a job description and everything for an elections clerk. So if this was a creation, why would we have that?
So why was the job duties always bundled together?
I
I
can't
mean,
answer that
are
question.
we, yeah, my look at a new position is this seems like a standalone elections clerk position, kind of like an accounts payable or a payroll clerk.
Well,
It's different than just a vital records slash or a accounts payable slash, you know, so everything I've ever seen is either an AP slash elections, a vital slash elections. I've never actually seen anyone hired that actually was just labeled directly an elections clerk. So that was our confusion as to, I mean, I know it's been additional duties that have been tacked on, but for it to be a standalone position itself now.
and there's always been a line item.
I think that's probably what's happened through the years is, if you look back, and I can't look back, and I'm not saying this for, I'm just, my opinion, is probably at one time, these were all jobs. And as the county shrunk and downsized,
Three, so yeah.
as
They're
the
probably,
county
if
shrunk
you
and
go back,
downsized, it was like, well, you're the elections clerk, but you're not busy right now, so you gotta work, at the desk. And I think they've just kind of been grouped together through the years. Maybe I'm wrong, but
so if we
is
go
my
back,
opinion.
possibly, we go back however many years ago to when we did budget cuts. When the clerk's office went from, what's that?
Oh, wait.
Oh, wait, went from 4 to 3, maybe at that point there was.
That would be my opinion, they started just grouping things together, and maybe we should figure out some clarity on that and see
Yes.
how this is going for other
Is this going to
departments
be
and
an
stuff, too.
elections clerk slash vital records worker?
Yeah, I can't,
Okay.
well.
Do we have to put that in this?
No,
Would it be safe?
when I'm interviewing, I'm going to talk, because they're both going to be cross-trained. I think that in this discussion, because there's, you know, the elections, they're all, every year is different, and the work involved in a smaller election compared to a county election, there's different things that are involved with every single election, as I'm learning. So I think that because of the walk-in business is so busy that anyone that had, you know, wasn't busy, that's what it was. I just want that to be on the record. There's a line item for the position, and
Okay, so what do we need to do? Do I need to amend this? You want to keep
well,
this
you're
like this?
amending it to say what it did.
I would like to see it stay its
No
own
entity.
entity myself.
I'm sorry, what, you want to what?
I would like to see it stay its own entity myself, and I understand that the girls and the people in these offices have to work together and help each other out, but I believe that we should keep these all separate. That changes the rise salary schedule and everything else as these years progress. If this girl hires, she comes full-time, and then it changes the rise salary schedule of where she's being paid if she's doing, you know, 2 different job descriptions.
And we did submit for an elections clerk in the job study.
So that would be my opinion.
Okay, so the only thing I need to change, I need to redo this amendment with the fringe benefits, correct?
And no benefits except those.
Okay,
required by
so-
law.
I'd like to make a motion to authorize the clerk's office to create a new position for a part-time elections clerk for no more than 28 hours to be paid at a pay grade 03 on the rise salary schedule with an hourly rate of $11.91 with no fringe benefits. And that's required under federal law and to be paid for from line item number 101-191-702.
Support.
Is that, well, wait, is that, you already seconded his amendment, so will you go ahead with his new one?
Yes.
Is that what you're
Yes, I
seconding?
will.
Okay. And we already,
Well, the first one was,
he didn't amend again, he was
Right.
fixing his amendment. So as long as the second is satisfied with his amendment, his change of language, then we can continue. Am I correct?
so the second amendment is Mark's, I mean, Big Masters and Mark's, not. ours.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Gary has a question.
Yeah. I was here a long time ago and I've been here for several years and all departments did get cut. So that's what did happen. I know because the first time I was here, I mean, for town treasurer, everybody got, several people cut. It was really stressful.
All right.
Okay.
And we even went to comp time and, I mean, different times and had to donate a day.
Furlough days.
Furlough days. And, I mean, it was,
I think that's
it was
what
naughty,
came about
but that's,
with
so,
cross-
things
cross
are bad.
titles.
Yeah.
And I think we need to clean it back up at some point.
Okay,
This is
and then
this is
we'll
our-
revisit it.
Revisit it in January after we use this.
How things are going, how the office is running.
With the reduced hours.
Okay. Roll call on the amendment, please.
Okay. This is the amendment. Okay, Commissioner Bartz,
Yes.
Commissioner McMaster,
Yes.
Commissioner Pascarelli,
Yes.
Commissioner Brock, is absent, Commissioner Marks,
Yes.
Commissioner Olshausen,
Yes.
Chairman Ruth.
Yes. All right, now the amended motion. I think we've discussed this. Another roll call, please, for the actual new amended motion.
Commissioner McMaster,
Yes.
Commissioner Pascarelli,
Yes.
Commissioner Brock is absent, Commissioner Marks.
Yes.
Commissioner Olshausen,
Yes.
Commissioner Bartz.
Yes.
Chairman Ruth.
Yes. Motion passes.
Okay, we move on to item D. I move to authorize the contract for additional accounting services with SK&T AC to be billed on an hourly basis for an amount not to exceed $14,000.00 for calendar year 2017, and authorize the board chair to execute all required documents.
Support. We have a motion to support. Any discussion? We actually do have the gentleman here today. If you could just get up and just kind of, if this is one of the recommended in our audit report as well, to bring on an outside firm to assist us with some of this. So it would be something that would be going along with our audit, some of the things to fix, correct.
Yeah, I think that, you know, in looking at things, I think kind of as commissioners were mentioning, I think with the paring down of employees, there, you know, there's a lot of work and accounting, governmental accounting, county accounting, and so forth is not what it was 20 years ago or 25 years ago, and so there's been more requirements, more put on everybody, you know, to get things done, and the level of sophistication of, you know, the filings and keeping the general ledger and all that kind of stuff is just continues to compound, and what we're seeing is a significant number of entities just not being able to keep up with the requirements and everything. So I think what we'll be able to do is assist in that process, you know, and help kind of fill in the holes, you know, that have occurred because of the reduction in staffing levels at the county. So and I know you folks have seen the insolvent letter, so I won't go through that in a lot of detail, but that's kind of the gist of it is that if there's those areas that we can come in and assist with to say, you know, target certain areas that we can, you know, concentrate on to get the general ledger in good shape and make sure things are recorded correctly and try to do that as best we can on a monthly basis, then you can make decisions on good, accurate, timely information to be able to, you know, if you have to make budget amendments or you're going to do this project, can we afford, you know, to do that kind of stuff? And I think you'll see with kind of the what we can do in 2017 to get you to that point, that maybe that's something that you would want to continue and go forward into 18 and so forth, helping get ready for the, you know, more detailed onto the audit process and preparing, you know, records for the auditors and going forward, you know, with that process. I think it can be it might not be a perfect dollar for dollar trade-off, but I think there will be some net you can save on audit fees, and that would help pay for, you know, additional accounting services with maybe reduced audit fees too. So I think that will, you know, be a net.
Am I safe to say it also helps keep track of the federal mandates, which are becoming a lot more than what you're, let's say, 20 years ago too, but even 5 years ago.
Absolutely, yeah. Uniform guidance is huge. There's a new procurement policy that should be in the works that I'm actually working on with two other entities. That's a phenomenally difficult document to prepare, and you know, so those are areas that we can assist with too, is federal grants, making sure that, you know, the financial status reports, the FSRs get, you know, at least the data gets, you know, prepared correctly and submitted. So again, it can be ready for audit time as much as we can help with, you know, with those dollars. And I think what you'll see, hopefully, is what you'll see kind of your bang for your buck of what you get for those dollars. It'll be worth it.
Mr. Chair, a question? So I'm just curious, can you help me understand, you presented the audit report on behalf of Abraham and Gaffney, and you're also now representing SK&T, and I know you've kind of morphed into and came from.
Yep, absolutely, and I can talk about that. And so what we've done, we have the original partners of Abraham and Gaffney. There were 7 of us, and one of our partners retired about 19 months ago. Gaffney of Abraham and Gaffney retired, and so we kind of reevaluated our firm, looked at where we wanted to go, and decided that we would take our business and tax practice, and they would continue on as Abraham and Gaffney, and the governmental and nonprofit services department of our firm, which is what I was in charge of, has spun off and become the Stevens Kernovic and Tucker. So we continue to service all our governmental and nonprofit clients under that entity, and with no affiliation anymore with Abraham and Gaffney. That was as of July 31st. So that was kind of the separation there of the two departments, what we call our tax department, which is our business services department, and our nonprofit governmental services, and that separation. So the governmental and nonprofit partners went in one direction, and then the tax partners continued on with Abraham and Gaffney.
So Gaffney stayed with the original then?
He is retired, and he has significantly stepped back his time. He actually has left Abraham and Gaffney also. They retain the name, and that's, you know, that's allowable under the profession, but he's actually just kind of working on a part-time basis, doing kind of his own thing, I guess, for lack of better terms, and working kind of a reduced schedule because of he just decided it was time to start to pare back and prepare for retirement.
Thank you.
Yep.
Anything else? All right, thank you.
Great, thank you.
Appreciate it. We'll do a roll call vote, please.
Commissioner Cascarelli?
Yes.
Commissioner Brown? Commissioner Marks?
Yes.
Commissioner Holzhausen?
Yes.
Commissioner Bartz?
Yes.
Commissioner McMaster?
Yes.
Chairman Ruth?
Yes, motion passes.
We are moving on to item E. I move to authorize budget amendment number 17-9, transferring budget savings from 101-269 101-804 Capitan lease payments to 101-172-804 administration contracts.
Support.
Motion and support, any discussion? Roll call on that as well.
Commissioner Brock is absent. Commissioner Marks?
Yes.
Commissioner Holzhausen?
Yes.
Commissioner Bartz?
Yes.
Commissioner McMaster?
Yes.
Commissioner Cascarelli?
Yes.
Chairman Wood?
Yes. Motion passed.
Moving on to page 3 of the agenda, item F. I move to authorize a one-time $1,500.00 payment to Teamsters Local Number 214, Command and Teamsters Local Number 214, non-supervisory employees, and authorize the board chair to execute all necessary documents.
Support.
We have a motion and support, any discussion? Yes, Commissioner.
I have a little bit of a problem is they're getting raises and none of the other employees in the county are getting them, so it might be a little bit not look good for the employees, so it's
Yeah.
a little bit of a concern, so.
Yeah.
And when this study goes through, I don't know if we're gonna have money to give everybody $1,500 or not, so. it's
Well,
gonna
the
be a little
issue,
tough.
that is a concern. The wage study is going on. These units that are here represented are the units that were excluded from the wage study. They were not allowed to be in it because of their 312 arbitration. So they had a wage reopener since January. They decided they kind of all held that off. They were eligible in January. They held that off thinking they would be in the wage study. When they were not, they met and kind of put this together as a proposal. I think it's fair for what they're doing.
Oh, I'm not saying that, I just said it looks kind
Well,
of bad.
I think it's fair, and I think it's fair, and they've earned it, and, I mean, they're not gonna be in the wage study, so they're not considered at all. So, and they held off on their wage reopener for this long, so I think this is fair, and, we appreciate what they're doing, and this just kinda shows that even though they can't be involved, we still wanna help them out too, so,
Mr. Chairman?
yes.
Thank you. I would want to clarify in layman's terms that this $1,500 is in lieu of them not reopening their the wages, doing a wage reopener, which saves us arbitration, lawyer, attorney fees.
Is that
and the
just
other-
for 1 year though, right?
Right.
Yeah, so.
And it's only a one-time payment.
When you look at it, when we looked at it closely, it would probably cost us more to go into arbitration. So, and one other thing to remember is that this is all coming out of the sheriff's budget. This will not come from general fund. So he was gracious enough to take that on. So.
And the sheriff does not receive a payment, nor does the undersheriff,
Correct.
so.
That should be public knowledge.
Well, the sheriff doesn't get it?
No.
Oh, why not?
No, that's not fair either.
But I'm sure his guys are very thankful
I'll
for
read
what he's
that.
been doing. So,
If he's got that much in his budget, maybe he's got too much money we're giving him. so.
hey now.
We appreciate our
Gotta cut that
deputies.
back next year.
Yeah.
No, I'm just
But
raising the issues.
no, I think this helps keep up morale and the guys really
Oh,
appreciate
I'm
what
not
the sheriff's
saying they
doing for them, so.
I'm not saying they don't need it.
All right, roll call please.
Yep.
Commissioner Marks?
Yes.
Commissioner Holzhausen?
Yes.
Commissioner Bartz?
Yes.
Commissioner McMaster?
Yes.
Commissioner Cascarelli?
Yes.
Commissioner Brock is absent. And Chairman Wood?
Yes, motion passes.
Thank you. Moving to item G, I move to authorize a payment of $41,225.00 to Mid-State Health Network as required under the Public Act and authorize the board chair to execute all necessary documents.
Support.
Motion and support, any discussion? All right, roll call please.
Commissioner Holzhausen?
Yes.
Commissioner Bartz?
Yes.
Commissioner McMaster?
Yes.
Commissioner Cascarelli?
Yes.
Commissioner Brock is absent. Commissioner Marks?
Yes.
Chairman Wood?
Yes, motion passes.
And finally, item H, I move to approve the minutes of the August 14th, 2017 Finance and Administration Committee meeting.
Support.
Motion and support, any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same. Motion passes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. That concludes my report.
Thank you, Commissioner Marks. We move to Public Safety and Courts, Commissioner Bartz.
Make a motion to authorize the sheriff's office to enter into a contract agreement with Canteen Services, Inc., beginning September 12, 2017, for a period of 5 years to replace the existing contract with Swanson's Trinity and authorize the sheriff's department to sign all necessary documents.
Support.
Motion and support, any discussion? We'll do a roll call vote.
Commissioner Bartz?
Yes.
Commissioner McMaster?
Yes.
Commissioner Cascarelli?
Yes.
Commissioner Brook is absent. Commissioner Marks?
Yes.
Commissioner Olshausen?
Yes.
Chairman Root?
Yes, motion passes.
Make a motion to authorize the sheriff's office to renew a one-year contract agreement with Advanced Correctional Healthcare, Inc. to provide correctional healthcare services to the inmates of Shiawassee County for the period of June 1st, 2017 to May 31st, 2018, and authorize the board chair to sign all necessary documents.
Support.
Motion and support, any discussion on this motion? Other roll call, please.
Commissioner McMaster?
Yes.
Commissioner Cascarelli?
Yes.
Commissioner Brook is absent. Commissioner Marks?
Yes.
Commissioner Olshausen? Commissioner Bartz?
Yes.
Chairman Root?
Yes.
Motion to authorize an upgrade to the Shiawassee County Central Dispatch Radio and Paging Communications Network with a one-time fee in the amount of $3,000 and a monthly service charge in the amount of $2,075 to be paid out of line item 216-325-930, and authorize the board chair to sign a 5-year contract with Daystar Communications for the setup and maintenance of the network.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? On the board. All right. Actually, maybe I'm just ignorant here. I mean, Commissioner Holthausen brought up $2,075. Is that like in the ballpark, and is that normal? It does seem awfully high monthly.
Yes, it
So
is,
it's-
for the maintenance of that type of a network.
Pretty much in the, that's right in there? Okay. All right, thank you. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Cascarelli?
Yes.
Commissioner Brook is absent. Commissioner Marks?
Yes.
Commissioner Olshausen?
Yes.
Commissioner Bartz?
Yes.
Commissioner McMaster?
Yes.
Chairman Root?
Yes.
Motion to approve the minutes of the August 15th, 2017 Public Safety and Courts Committee meeting.
Second.
Motion and second, any discussion on the minutes? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same. Motion passes.
Includes the report.
Thank you, Commissioner Brough. We will move on to Health and Human Services, Commissioner McMaster.
I move to authorize the Health Department to enter into an agreement with the Wausau Public Schools for school nursing services for school year 2017 to 2018, and authorize Larry Johnson, Health Director, to sign all necessary documents.
Second.
Motion and second, any discussion? We're gonna enter into a better roll call.
Commissioner Brock? Is absent, sorry. Commissioner Marks?
Yes.
Commissioner Olshausen?
Yes.
Commissioner Bartz?
Yes.
Commissioner McMaster?
Yes.
Commissioner Cascarelli?
Yes.
Chairman Root?
Yes. Motion passes. Next.
I move to authorize the Health Department to contract with Shiawassee Regional Educational Service District for social work services in the amount of $75,000 for school year 2017-2018, and authorize Larry Johnson, Health Director, to sign all necessary documents.
Second.
Motion and second, any discussion on the motion? Another roll call, please.
Commissioner Marks?
Yes.
Commissioner Olshausen?
Yes.
Commissioner Bartz?
Yes.
Commissioner McMaster?
Yes.
Commissioner Cascarelli?
Yes.
Commissioner Brook is absent. Chairman Root?
Yes. Motion passes.
And I move to authorize the Health Department to contract with the Shiawassee Regional Educational Service District for reflective supervision services for the maternal and infant health program in the amount of $2,900 for the period of July 1st, 2017 to June 30th, 2018, and authorize Larry Johnson, Health Director, to sign all necessary documents.
Second.
Motion and second, any discussion on the motion? Another roll call, please.
Commissioner Olshausen?
Yes.
Commissioner Bartz?
Yes.
Commissioner McMaster?
Yes.
Commissioner Cascarelli?
Yes.
Commissioner Brook is absent. Commissioner Marks?
Yes.
Chairman Root?
Yes. Motion passes.
Okay, I move to appoint Joshua Swery to the Shiawassee Community Mental Health Board effective immediately to March 31st, 2019, or until successor is appointed, and authorize the board chair to execute all necessary documents.
Motion and support, any discussion on the appointment? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same. Motion passes.
Okay, I move to approve the minutes of the August 15th, 2017 Health and Human Services Committee meeting.
Second.
Motion and second, any discussion on the minutes? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same. Motion passes.
That completes my report, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Commissioner McMaster. Let's move on to the chairperson. I really don't have anything this time. We covered it yesterday. We'll move on to other agenda items. Any other commissioners at this time have
I
anything?
have one thing.
Commissioner Barnes.
I would like to make a motion to accept and place on file the 2015 Shiawassee, is it 15 or 16?
16.
16,
I don't know what it says.
Well, that's good.
I know. I'm sorry. I'll start over. I knew better and I didn't. I'd like to make a motion to accept and place on file the 2016 Shiawassee County Financial Audit and submit it to the state of Michigan.
Second.
Just a comment if I may. It would have been nice, this is the first opportunity commissioners had to see this document, so in the future it'd be nice, I don't know if that's possible, to have some amount of time beforehand to review it and come better prepared to ask questions before it's approved. I appreciate that. So moved.
Motion and second. Any discussion?
I've been here, this is my 7th year, and this is the way it's always been done, so.
Yeah.
I mean, we have all the head officials from everybody here, and all the people going through it, and we're just kind of,
I understand it wouldn't be that hard to get this a couple of days ahead of time, give it to us at the Monday committee report, and give everybody a couple days to chew on it. I don't think that's asking anyone.
Yeah, I actually think we normally did do that, didn't we? Didn't we usually hand it out of finance and then, I think it was just this week with budget stuff going on, we probably got it.
Yeah, you know, I mean,
Because we've had them in the past.
because we discussed it at finance on it, so
Yeah.
that would have been a good day to hand it out next
Yeah,
year,
I
and
think
then
we just-
have a
yeah.
couple days to look at it.
Yes,
and then-
excellent
and be able to ask
That's what we
questions.
just did. So, we can do a roll call on that, please.
Commissioner Bartz?
Yes.
Commissioner McMaster?
Yes.
Commissioner Cascarelli?
Yes.
Commissioner Brough? I'm sorry. I'm tired.
Yeah, we're rough.
Yeah.
He's missing out.
He might show up any minute.
It's been a long week. Commissioner Marks?
Yes.
Commissioner Holzhausen?
Yes.
And Chairman Rowe.
Yes. Motion passes. Anything else from any other commissioners at this time? All right, then we'll go to the second opportunity for the public to address the board. You're up.
Chairman Root, members of this county commission, my name is Ann Gamble Hall. I am a member of the Zoning Board of Appeals for Shiawassee County. I have been a member of that board for 10 years. And in 10 years, I have thought very hard. I have taken testimony. I have listened to the evidence. And in that time, we have gone to court once in 10 years because we worked so hard, because the planning commission at the townships and the planning commission at the county level and the zoning board of appeals worked so very hard to get the right answer. And in approving Proline, who lost at the township, who lost at the county commission, and who stalemated at the zoning board of appeals, the process under the law is that they are to go over to an appellate court. And in this particular case, an appellate court is the circuit court. Now, they filed a lawsuit a few days ago. And instead of letting that go up to the appellate court, where it was supposed to go under the law, you have gone into closed session, approved a special use permit, despite the fact that 3 boards before this at the county level had said no. You've approved something that hundreds of people sat in this room and said they did not want. And in my opinion, and I say this not only in my personal opinion, I say this as a legal opinion because I've also been an attorney for 10 years. I stood up and I put my hand up and I swore to uphold the laws of the state of Michigan. And what you have done is you have violated the laws. And as a result, I cannot in good conscience serve anymore as a zoning board of appeals member. And I am resigning immediately.
Thank you. Do we have anyone else at this time that would like to speak?
On behalf of the hardworking members, men and women of the Sheriff's Department, I just want to say thank you for considering our matters and approving it.
All right, Sheriff. And thank you to the deputies that are here tonight. Yeah, thank you. Anyone else at this time? Les has got something. All right, if we're.
No, let it slide.
Okay, without nothing else, then we are adjourned. Thank you.